Welcome everybody to I'll Be Right Back, the show where we take a look at a horror movie, and we're getting a new Strangers movie, Peter. Strangers Chapter 1. So I thought let's take a look at the original The Strangers.
I'm really excited about this because I have not seen any of the Strangers movies. I've never delved into this universe, so this was a new experience for me.
I distinctly remember going to the cinema with my friend to go see this, and he wanted to see this, and I wanted to see The Dark Knight for the third time. I said, okay, we'll go see this, but I kind of made myself look really young so that we wouldn't get let in because we weren't old enough to see it. And I was like, thank God we didn't get into it, so I got to go see The Dark Knight again. And I'm lucky that we didn't go see it because this was fucking terrifying, man. I was edge of my seat, like heart pumping pretty much the entire movie.
This is absolutely the horror that scares me the most because it's real. It could happen. During this movie, me and my wife were watching it last night. My daughter came in through the front door at around about 10:30 and I literally nearly shit my pants because I thought, you know what? I'm just sat here every night with my front door unlocked. People could walk in and do exactly what happened in this movie. It's terrifying. It really is a great movie, I have to say.
It really taps into, like, if you've ever stayed in a remote house on your own overnight or something, like you have that kind of feeling of someone could be looking through the window, someone could be outside, or if you're home alone there's a knock on the door. Like, it really taps into that kind of back of your head fear that you kind of always have.
Yeah, and I always know that a horror is having an impact on us, not because I'm covering my eyes because of gore and stuff like that. It's when I'm literally kind of holding my breath during scenes because the anxiety levels have hit us. When, you know, she's in the kitchen and you see him in the background just walking.
Oh, it's the best shot of the movie.
God.
One of the best shots in any movie, I think, ever. Like,
but
that's
it's
just
terrifying,
so
you know, and it really does lead into that whole thing in your brain of, you know, a creak in the house and you think, is there someone there? Or open the door. And I just thoroughly enjoyed this movie. It was far, far better than I expected it to be. I thought it was superb.
A little bit of background about the movie. It's written and directed by Brian Bertino. I looked at his future films and I don't recognize anything, so we didn't really go on to do much else big. It was partly inspired by the Manson murders, so the idea was sort of, we all know the mythology of the Manson family and Charles Manson and why it happened, but Sharon Tate didn't, and that was sort of let's see this from their perspective. So I think that's kind of an interesting idea. Bertino sold the script to Universal with no intention of directing. Justin Lin, who's done some of the Fast and Furious movies up to kind of Fast X, I think, was attached to direct at one point, and Mark Romanek, who did 1 Hour Photo.
Yeah, 1 Hour Photo. Robin Williams, is it?
Yeah, we're both attached to direct at some point. Universal eventually passed the film down to subsidiary Rogue Pictures, who approached Bertino to direct the film despite his lack of experience. You wouldn't know this was a first-time director. I think the camera work is phenomenal. I think it does have, a little bit of that kind of amateurish style to it, but I think it really worked. It's almost like someone putting in more effort than they need to, if you know what I mean.
I hear what you're saying, but what I would say is, watching the movie for the first time, perhaps because of how intense it was or atmospheric, I didn't feel any of that. I was thoroughly sucked into the movie and what was happening with these individuals.
Every camera shot lingers for the perfect amount of time. You're really, your heart's in your throat, I think, for this film. Particularly building up to the first kind of encounter, pulling the shades open, there he is. Oh my god, there's not that many jump scares in it, but they land so well because that build up is for so long.
The big thing for me was that at almost a midway point, you realise that these people, yes, they're here to kill them, but they're not just here to kill them. They're actually playing with them. They're having fun with them. Do you know what I mean? And that's horrific. You know, that's terrifying in itself, because there are scenes where the strangers are looking at the individuals or seeing the individuals and do nothing about it. They just kind of wander off.
Watching her just crawl through the forest like an idiot. The bit where she's hiding in the closet and the sackhead one comes in and sits down. He knows she's in there.
Oh yeah.
He's just doing that to scare her, to make her think she's gotten away, That's phenomenal.
Also, just whilst you're talking sackhead, the superb use of sound, his wheeze that he's got when he's walking around is just, again, horrifically terrifying, I
really love the designs of the strangers in it. I think it's very much like it was intended to be, they just walked into a shop and bought them, but I think that sackhead one to me is so iconic. That's the one I remember from the poster back in the day. James, I think, is the lead male of the movie.
He's a hard lad, mind, isn't he? He's got some balls about him.
Why doesn't he believe her? Because he comes in, she's like, oh, there's someone in the house. He's like, no, there wasn't. He goes out to the hallway, just to the hallway. Look, there's nobody here. And then he sees someone outside, which corroborates her story, and goes, yeah, but he didn't come into the house and take your phone, though. That didn't happen. I wouldn't marry him either if I were her.
No, he's a prick. I have to say, at one point at the start, I think when he came back and he had that I don't believe you kind of moment, I'd convinced myself that he was the sack-headed one. I thought he was in on this. I thought he was part of the strangers, but then you quickly realise he's not. But like I say, balls balls of steel, that guy. He didn't seem fazed by anything. If someone's knocking on my door and coming into the house and stuff, I'm locking the doors and hiding. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going out there looking for
I'm in
them.
the corner with that shotgun pointed at the wall. I'm not moving from there.
That was telegraphed. You knew that was coming, but it was still heartbreakingly horrific when it happened.
So for me, I think when he pulls up, I'm like, oh, he's going to end up getting shot. But then it goes on for so long, and then you have the sackhead guy behind him. I kind of forgot that the shotgun was in play then, do you know? So when it happens, I actually was surprised. You know, I thought that was brilliant. Lovely appearance by Glenn Howerton. I don't know if you ever watch Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
No, I've not seen that.
Dennis, yeah, he's one of the main characters. He's an amazing actor. He took me out of the movie a little bit when he showed up, but I was like, oh, no, I like seeing him in other things, you know. Liv Tyler was fantastic in this, I think. Like, God love her. She must have had a rough go filming this, like screaming constantly.
Massively underrated actress, you know. I think she's superb, and she is very, very strong in this as well.
Some of the dialogue for the couple is a bit hokey. I do like that it has that kind of awkwardness of like two people who like had like a failed proposal. Like it does feel kind of natural, but I don't know, there was something a bit off about some lines in terms of like the romantic element of the movie.
It is awkward when there's a proposal made and, you know, the other part. I mean, like when you proposed to me, James, it was a bit awkward for a few days when I knocked you back. Talking of Liv Tyler, I thoroughly enjoyed her in the performance. Loved the action scenes with her in terms of her running around and all the rest of it. But I'm going to be honest, I'm disappointed she wasn't dead at the end. I think that was a bit of a cop-out. You know, kind of waking up and screaming.
I agree 100%, yeah. I like with the stabbing that it's not like overly gratuitous. It's just sort of like this is another day, you know, we're just stabbing people. And like I think the taking of the mask off was like a cool, like, yeah, you're fucked now. Like that's it. You've seen us, so you're gonna die. I'm not a fan of the opening, the whole based on true events with the voiceover. I thought the voiceover is weird, and then the 911 phone call. I think it would have been better to just start on like James at the beginning.
I think that element of the story is a bit bait and switch, to be honest, because I googled this afterwards. It sells it like this is an actual event that happened, and it's not. It's a collection of, like you say, the Mansons and all that kind of stuff, which I think is a little bit rough. It's not really based on a true story.
Inspired by true events, I think, which is technically true, I suppose. The Strangers, you know, there's so few lines of dialogue for them, but they really hit hard. I think the why are you doing this because you were home, you know, just the idea of yeah, you know, you really did nothing to cause or avoid this, like it was just bad luck on your part. I think that's absolutely horrifying. I really like when the little kind of missionary kids give her the leaflet and he's like, are you a sinner? And she goes, sometimes. Well, that was great as well, you know, it's just brilliant.
That was very cool when they're just kind of calmly driving off at the end. And it's interesting the last line that she says, isn't it, where she says something along the lines of, you know,
next time's going to be easier.
Yeah, it'll be easier next time.
So is that implying that this is like one of the first times they've done this?
That's how I read it. I read it that this was the first kind of outing, which makes you wonder what the next movie's going to be about.
I've seen a couple of clips. I don't think I've watched a full trailer, so I don't really want to know.
So I've watched the full trailer, and me and my wife both said after watching this, it feels like it's a carbon copy. The trailer is very, very similar to what we've just watched.
Yeah, I suppose maybe that's a practice run of this is the real thing, I guess, or something like that. I don't know. A little bit of trivia about the movie, Peter. The film was shot entirely with handheld cameras or Steadicams. Every shot in the film features some kind of camera movement. According to pinup girl actress Laura Margolis, Liv Tyler specifically requested not to see the masks for the strangers prior to shooting her scenes with them in order to be genuinely scared. Her first scene with Margolis running out of the barn resulted in Tyler screaming and kicking her away.
Really? That's pretty
yeah. That's really good, yeah. And they actually shot the film chronologically as well. During filming, Bertino would tell Tyler that various bangs would come from different directions than they were actually going to in order to get a genuine reaction. Tyler also developed tonsillitis during filming due to the amount of screaming she had to do. So that's the one thing about, like, if you're filming for a week, a screaming scene, you're screaming for a week straight. So I think that's probably probably why. But Tyler described the film as the hardest filming experience she's ever had.
But I would imagine this would be a really intense shoot. I would have thought, you know, it's a high octane show, isn't it?
Crawling on your hands and knees through the forest, like I think it'd be rough, yeah. And lastly, the original ending was drastically cut down in editing. Originally, the strangers' faces were revealed to the audience, and the stabbing scene was followed by a sequence of them wandering around the house, cleaning up evidence before changing clothes. It was decided following test screenings to keep the strangers' faces unseen. I think that's better.
Absolutely.
Better off. Because, like, we're not the ones getting killed. Like, they're getting killed, so they see the faces. I think that's how I like it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't like the idea of them cleaning up after themselves. Do you know what I mean? This is a spontaneous kind of...
They move like state to state just doing this for fun. Like, so the future of this franchise, so this was followed in 2018 by a sequel, The Strangers Prey at Night. So I've not seen it, but my understanding is that it's a satire of modern horror movies.
Okay.
So very different tone to this.
I mean, I'd be interested to go and watch it, to be honest. I'm into this universe now, so I'll definitely go and pick that up, I think.
And then you have the prequel, The Strangers Chapter 1. Now, this is actually filmed concurrently with Chapter 2 and 3, so we're getting 3 movies. But that makes me wonder, like, is it going to be, it's going to be like part 1. I hate part 1s and part 2s where it's like it ends. It's like, oh, it didn't really end.
Yeah.
You know, are we getting 1/3 of an actual movie?
A continuation or something like that. I hope not. I hope it's individual stories. But then, to be fair, how often can you do the same story? Because, like I say, that trailer looks pretty much carbon copy from what I watched the other night. So I hope it's got some different beats to it.
So, any final thoughts on The Strangers?
Just much, much better than I expected. Really, really recommend people pick it up. Well worth a watch, and it's got us excited for the new one coming out. Can't wait to get into that and see what it's all about.
Great cast in it. Absolutely terrifying. Like one of the scariest movies I've watched. I watched it on my phone and I was scared.
Yeah.
Is this better than Willy's Wonderland?
Yes, it is. I have to say, it is. It would be better if at the end, when they took the Hessian mask off, it was Nick Cage. Do you know what I mean? But apart from that, it was spot on. I've got to say it's better than Willy's Wonderland.
I have to say, I would have liked Nick Cage as the boyfriend in it. I think that would have been good.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't mess with Cage. It would have been a short film. Do you know what I mean? They would have knocked on the door.
Well, would have Willy's Wonderland again, wouldn't it? Where he's just going around killing all
just kick the shit out of them, you know?
That's good. I like it. Yeah, naked though.
No, naked, naturally. Yeah.
Oh, just the sack on his head.
I do like to see Nick's
nothing
sack.
else, is
I
it?
do like to see Nick's sack.
Yeah. And that's I'll be right back on The Strangers. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you enjoyed this. Drop a like, leave a comment. We have several of these I'll be right backs. This is our 15th or 16th one.
So, yeah.
We've done Scooby-Doo. We've done Fright Night, some classics, some newer films. So if you enjoyed this, check them out. Have a look at some of the other newer reviews we've done as well. We'll be doing a review of The Strangers Chapter 1. We do One Good Scare live every second Friday. And we'll be right back next time with...
For centuries, he has remained hidden, watching, waiting. And now, he is coming. Wishmaster. Careful what you wish for.
Never, under any circumstances, say, I'll be right back. Because you won't be back.